So let's have a little look then at, let's have a little bit of a catalogue walkthrough. I will point out some new things and I'll show you some of the things that I've got, including papers and some other bits. And as I usually do with these kinds of things, we'll show you some of the things that you might have missed in the catalogue that are not immediately obvious at first glance. So if I just switch to my desk. Oh, there we go. Good. Okay, so this is the new annual catalogue. Big showcase of this paper, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So nothing much changed in terms of layout, little bits up front about kits. Some of these kits are already available. So this one that you can see here, the birthday kit, is already available, as is this one at the bottom. This robots one is a new one that is due soon. Currently delayed because it should already be here. This one too is delayed. First big suite is this one, Tea Boutique, which has got, again, so loads of really nice papers. So where they're part of a suite, I'll show you as we go along. And if I just, oh, actually, this one's already here. So these Tea Boutique papers, so they're quite colourful. They do feature a lot of the new in colours. But if I, so you've got a sheet. Most of them are patterned one side. This nice little teapots, blue on the back, lemons, violet. So there's quite a bit of coordination of kind of new in colours with existing. So that's kind of a sort of florally greenery. Teacups. And this nice crisscross. So I've started cutting mine up already. So I've got bits. Oh, this really pretty one with little blue and lilac flowers and a stripe on the back. So not all of the papers feature the teacups themselves. Some of them feature the florals or the sprigs, which are quite similar to the elements of the set. That's quite a bold one, red with neutral flowers on, but a nice background. This one with the teapots, motley background. This one, which I really like, with the little envelopes, and the yellow, florals, neutral background. So they can be used for lots and lots of different things. Another teapots, a nice blue. Yeah, so that's one of each of the papers in the Tea Boutique set. And there are quite a few bits and pieces to because it's a suite, obviously. There are a few different things in it. So the dies, so the dies cut out some of the elements of the stamp set, so the cup and the florals, but then you've got some extra bits as well. So you've got some flowers, you've got these little tiny tea bags, and then you've got this almost relief layer to create more patterned kind of teacups. It's that pattern or similar pattern, but it's actually a standalone. So you can see it, actually, you can see it on the Stampin catalogue on the yellow cap. Yeah. So that is the dies. I'm just looking to see in the pile here. What have I actually done with the stamp set? It's here somewhere. But anyways, you can see what the stamp set looks like there. So you've got this kind of, the sentiments in it, a little bit of everything. Some of them are quite tiny because they fit on the tag shape. You've got everything from miss you to get well soon, thank you. They're also, as part of this suite, are these really neat card bases and envelopes. So they're a little bit like the ones that you sometimes get as part of Memories and More. But the envelopes are really, really nice because they're really, really pretty. Whoops. And then the card bases are kind of pre-patterned. So they've got the same patterns as the papers. It's a red one as well. So again, kind of make light work of creating something out of this suite. If you use a base, then they look really coordinated. So that's the first kind of big suite. This one you'll notice, so this set here, Sending Smiles, was the one that I used on my cards that came out with the catalogues. Yes. Okay, excuse me a second, ladies. I'll see those things. Yeah. Okay, so yes, this set. So I did use this on my ones that came out with the catalogue. So hold on, I've got one here. She says, I thought I had it here.
I've got one here.
I've used it on that one. That was one of the ones I did it with. Oh, there it is.
That one.
Run away with me. Yeah, this was the one. So, and on this one, I used all of the new in colours as well. So you could kind of get a feel for how. I mean, they do. Obviously, they do coordinate. The stamp set's really great though, because you can use it flat, and you can also die cut it like I've done on this one, dead easy. And obviously, it's got this really nice die cut sending piece. The top layer of it is a little bit fiddly, I won't lie, but if you use it with adhesive sheet, it's dead easy. So you can create some quite nice sort of layering effect, and it's a really good one for lots of different types of sentiment. So I quite like that one, and I have to say that was one of my first ones because I thought it was a nice way. I was looking for something that I could use to showcase the new in colours, and that was a really good way of doing that. Other new ones. So this is a new one. I haven't got it, but with bottles, and it's got a punch, and you can get these little acrylic bottles that fit in. So a little bit like the jars, which we've still got, but the bottles work in the same way. So if you wanted to create a shaker or something like that, then that's a really good set. And obviously the flowers are two steps. So you need to you get one set for the greenery and these little tiny flowers, and then this one for more detail. This next page, I am going to point out to you something that is a little bit of a hidden gem. So can you just see on these cards here, they actually feature some standalone dies. So I will show you the dies because I have them here. These dies are called Pretty Pop-Up dies, and they're not pop-up in the conventional sense. It's not to make a pop-up card, but you see, so they look like this. So you get 3 die plates, and each of them partially cut the flowers, the butterflies, and the dragonflies. But you can create a whole panel. So you can create this kind of relief effect, and whether you leave them plain, just out of cardstock, or whether you add colour to them with pencils or aqua paint or markers or whatever you like, really, you can create this kind of raised effect. There are some standalones as well, so you can cut out a complete flower, dragonfly, butterfly, all these other sort of, well, small butterfly and some other flowers. But they're really, really pretty, I think, and they're not that obvious because this is the only place that they appear in the actual catalogue pages apart from the dissection at the back. So they're worth pointing out. Sorry, you missed them completely. Yeah, you see, this is why I walk through.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, a walkthrough is quite good because these are easy ones to miss. standalone dies are becoming a little bit of a thing now. And so unless you actually go through the die pages, and even then, you can't tell from looking at the picture of the dies really what they're like. Obviously here, you can see some of the actual dies, but really this is what you're looking at, the samples that show you how they, how they're used. So I do really like these. These were one of the first things that were on my list because I think they're great. You can add a bit more color and you can, you can pretty them up if you want to, but actually they're really effective if you just use them as is too. So yeah, so they're definitely on my list. I'm going to gloss fairly quickly over new stamps that I don't have. So obviously that's one. This is a new one with a cherry punch. So if you're into cherries, Jill might like that. She's a bit of a cherry jam fan. So there's that one. These are new. Oh, this is a new set, which I did get this one. It's called Breaking News. And it's got this idea of a newspaper, and then you can infill your news. So whether it be for, graduation, engagement, all the different things that you might have breaking news to celebrate. I quite like that. And again, quite good for sort of simple cards. There's a sample of it here where they show they just kind of cut out the newspaper and then they've just used the cakes for a bit of background. But again, not a tricky set to use. And I quite liked it. So that's a new one. These are nothing new here. This is a new suite. I don't have any of it. It's called Lovely in Linen. I don't have these papers. I'll put another video up on my page, which wasn't actually, it's not mine, it's a Stampin' Up one, but they kind of give you a little bit of a closer look at these papers. They are textured, so they've got the texture of linen. It's quite difficult to see there, and particularly because when you look at the samples in the book, they've embossed with them, so you still can't really see the texture, but these papers have got a kind of a linen feel to them. And again, this is a punch bundle, so there's a punch that fits this label. So that's another new suite. There are some nice new sentiment sets as well. There's a nice swirl on that one. This is new. Again, standalone stamp set, so good for colouring or just outline. Over the page. So this one you might have seen a lot.
Joanne, your picture's gone smaller. Your picture seems to have gone smaller. It's just in the centre of the screen.
But it says your network bandwidth is low.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. It's looking fine from where I am, but that doesn't necessarily I didn't see a message come up, but then again, obviously I was looking down at the catalogue. I have got internet connection. Is it still small?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, mine was small all the time.
And mine has been.
Oh. Oh. Just looking to see, there's nothing else really running. Do you want to keep going? Or do you want me to start?
Oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah, just carry on.
No,
Okay. Let me know if it gets, as I say, let me know if it gets any worse. I'm not sure what I can do because it at my end, and I know that's no consolation, it looks absolutely fine.
No, don't worry, just crack on.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a new bundle. It's got the birds. I quite like this bundle. I used it actually on a card on Friday. I think, again, lots of sentiments you can use for lots of different occasions. I like the fact that the bird is really easy to punch, and whether you punch the stamped image or whether you just punch him out of cardstock, I think is really good. And he's quite versatile because you could make him into a robin quite easily. So that's something that I think makes him quite appealing. Yeah, that's the stamp set more closely. And again, you can stamp on his features, infill his wings and different bits and pieces. So that's quite a nice one. That was one of the bundles on my list. This framed occasion set, this is new. I don't have that. Some other new ones here. The buckets with things to put in, and there's a kind of quite a funny set down here. Next new suite is this one called Butterfly Kisses, which the only thing I have in this suite is the paper, which I used on my card yesterday. But I love these papers because they're just really bright and colourful. And as you will have seen on my card yesterday, that's the sheet. I just fussy cut the butterflies, so it wasn't tricky. Yeah. There are dies that will cut out partial butterflies, or butterflies in the same shape but with a little bit of relief to them. But the papers, so they are bright. If brights are not your thing, then these might not be, but they're really nice. Can you see they've got like these sort of a mixture of graphic stripes and then also butterflies or florals. They're just really pretty.
Are they doing their papers 6x6 now?
Not all of them. Right. So only some. So the two that I've shared with you so far are both 6x6.
Yeah.
Lots of the others. In fact, apart
from
the
size is back now.
Oh yeah, you're back. Yeah,
you're back.
Oh, okay. Random. Yes, apart from the two that I've showed you, the only other ones that are in 6x6 are the in colours. Everything else is 12x12. Okay. So apparently there is a reason. It was quite interesting. The video that I watched looking at looking at papers, it was one of the questions that was asked, why have we not got that as a 12x12? And Sarah Douglas sort of said, oh yeah, there's a reason why we only produce some as 6x6, but she didn't then go on to elaborate and explain what that was. So I'm none the wiser, other than some are and some are not. So yeah, this one is a 6x6 stack. And again, the kind of, it's quite fun. It's a bit retro, really, in terms of the design. I think the papers, because of the florals and the butterflies, they stand alone. There's some gems that coordinate as well in that suite. Oh, this is a set which I don't have, but is on my list because I think it's really, really good. Can you see here? So yeah, there's a really nice sentiment set. It's got loads of different types of sentiments, and the bit that you probably will struggle to see unless you've got your catalogue in front, but each of these, well, you can see by the outline, each of these has got a die cut for it. Yes. So you can just stamp it and die cut the whole sentiment. It also includes some other bits in it, like candles, hearts, stars, other useful little kind of embellishment pieces. But I do think if I was to choose one new sentiment bundle, it would probably be this one. So as I say, it's certainly it is on my wish list. Art Gallery is not new to us. Turn over the page. There are two new sets on this page. So these kind of retro swimsuits, and then this one. So Simply Fabulous. So it is a standalone stamp set. I did get this one because I just really like the font and the flowers. But it is just another kind of fonts and florals set. So again, but it's solid images. So they're dead easy. You know, no need to colour. Just stamp and then it's done. And there's a new Christmas set called Trimming the Tree on page 43. Everything else is the same. And then page 46, there's a new suite called Happy Forest Friends. It's quite, so it is foresty. It's also kind of quite, it would be good for baby cards, quite young. I don't have these papers, but one of the sheets, so this front sheet, you can't quite see it here, is almost a bit of a scene, but you can also, although it hasn't got lines on it, when you see the whole sheet, you can see how you could cut it up into card fronts. So it's an unusual design. You could use it as a 12x12, maybe to scrapbook, but also it's designed in a way that you can cut it up and make quite useful sort of card fronts. So that's that. And as I say, various other things, bears, boxes and bits and bobs, and dies to match. Over the page, a couple of other new stamp sets. So there's an elephant bundle. So if you're into elephants, he's got dies. And then there's this one, which is quite different, with a dragon, a unicorn, and a mermaid. Over the page, oh, this one with the corgis is new. I don't know whether there's a little bit of jubilee around that. I don't know. There's kind of a corgi, a guinea pig, and I think that's supposed to be a cat.
I think it's a cat.
Yeah, I think so. Over the page, these two are new. So this one with the little kind of graphic boys and girls and the little puppy dog, which is quite nice. And there's a new sentiments set there. Over the page, oh, so there's this one I did get, which was the pigs. So birthday pigs. We've had a pig set before. This one is birthday focused, but I quite like that. But again, stamps, nothing that coordinates with it, just a stamp set. Another suite when you go over the page called Abigail Rose. So I don't have these papers either. Very neutral. So, you know, pinks, browns, creams, very pretty. You've got sort of florals that, and then dies that will cut out the whole floral. And then also, can you see there's a sectional? So if you look at the bottom, there's like a sectional die that will cut out loads and loads of bits and pieces that you can make a whole. I don't think, actually, yes, you can just see it here. This sample shows it, where you can almost create a sprig with that die cut. And these also coordinate with the papers. So these dies coordinate and will cut out huge pieces. So if you didn't want to almost like stamp and die cut, you could cut out the florals from the papers. This is new, geraniums. Again, it's got dies with it, but otherwise, just another nice floral. Some big hooray, sort of, and well, not just hooray, but thanks, hugs, sentiments. Over the page, reasons to smile. This is one of those sort of one and done where you've got two stamps and it's essentially you've got a card front ready made. Lots of different ways you could colour that, or even just stamp it as one. So you can see some samples of that at the top of the page there. Over the page, everything on the next page is new. So there's this kind of almost girl power set. There's some nice big motivational sort of sentiments at the bottom, and then there's another floral which is mostly outlines, but then it has got this solid image, but it's not the solid image doesn't coordinate with the outlines. It's just a separate piece in the same style. Another suite when you go over the page called A Wash in Beauty. The papers here are really lovely. I don't have them that I can show you, but they are really lovely, very soft. The stamp set is very similar in style to either Flowing Flowers or even a little bit like the Blossom one that we had in the previous catalogue.
Yeah.
So the papers are lovely. The stamp set's got that sort of soft, almost watercoloured feel to it. The samples here are really nice. The other nice thing about the die set is it's got this piece. So it's got a almost like a diagonal lattice that is part of the dies, which is really useful whether you use it with this suite or with other things. Nothing new on the next page. On the page after that, there are a couple of new sets. This one, which is kind of olive branches, and this one, which I have got the stamp set, but I haven't got the punch because it was delayed, with the fish. And again, not, kind of, I actually quite like this because it was different to other underwater sets we've had. It's quite stylized, and I just wanted to have a bit of a play with it, really, because I think it will be quite nice for clean and simple cards to just stamp the various elements, not necessarily to make a whole scene. And there's a variety of sentiments. And as I say, there is a coordinating fish punch as well, if that's your thing. Nothing new over the page or the next one. Oh, page 76 has got a couple of new sets. This one down here, which is all about kind of get well soon, tissues, kind of mug of soup, I guess, or something similar. And then this one. So this one I've got, which is called Full of Love, which has got an envelope. So again, envelopes with florals. I quite like these. They're good for colouring or not.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see a few different samples here. And I think they'll coordinate actually with some of those papers I showed you from the tea set with the little envelopes and the paper. So that was one that I particularly liked. Oh, now this suite, the masculine suite, this is quite an interesting one. So I'll gloss over the stamps and the dies, in as much as I'll gloss over them because I haven't got them to show you, but the stamps are in the book. Obviously you can see the detail. The dies that come with them are quite nice. They're sort of labels, banners, there's a circle and an oval, and there is quite an interesting, I don't know what do you call it, almost like a plaid,
yeah,
sort of sectional die, but the papers for these are really interesting. And I have got some, and these are definitely ones that you should see to understand why they're so interesting. So the papers themselves have got a variety of different patterns. So obviously this one's got like kind of cutlery and cows and pigs and things, and then a neutral background. So they are very sort of masculine, ties, glasses, shoes, and a check on the back. Cars and bikes, and a sort of a neutral, and then this diamondy pattern, and another diamond on the reverse, and then this kind of camping. Just pull that out because you're looking at it side by side. Camping paper with little kind of caravans and wood grain, and then a brown plaid. But the really interesting thing about these papers, it comes with these. So we've never done papers like this before. 2 sheets, so 2 identical sheets of pre-die cut pieces that coordinate with the papers. So you could, the idea is that you'll use the papers plus these pieces, plus potentially the sort of the stamps, if I just move those, the stamps and the die cuts, but actually you could, these die cut pieces have got sentiments on, as well as kind of specific elements like, you know, the stag or the car or the barbecue. And I mean, they would be great for scrapbooking, but honestly, they're also great for kind of just cards on their own. So you could, I have got the papers and I don't have the stamp set or the dies. And part of what prompted me to buy the papers was the fact that there were these 2 sheets of die cut elements, because with card bases you could just make a ton of cards just with the papers alone. So they're definitely worth looking at, because that's quite different in terms of the approach. There's still 12 sheets in the pack, but 10 sheets of it are kind of pattern paper, and then 2 sheets of these die cuts. And again, I'm not sure the catalogue, you can really see that that's what they are. But when you look at these samples, you see some of them, so like this one here, it's got a few die cut elements, but these pieces are taken from the papers. So worth a look if you want some sort of quick mail cards.
Cards to make, wouldn't they?
Nothing new on the next page. Oh, there's a new one on page 82. So for those of us with techie people in our lives, there's a kind of an IT related one, which is quite nice. Also, on the opposing page, there's this kind of beer and wine set that's got dies. The other thing though is on page 82, so just to draw your attention to something else, which again, overlooked dies. So you will notice on those pages, the beard and the guitar, there's a die of a fishing rod with a fish, and this element here These are something called the rugged icon dies, and they're a standalone die set that has got dies that cut basically those elements. They don't coordinate with any stamp sets. They're just standalone dies. So you could easily miss them. So that's the only place where there are any samples. So just to point those out. Over the page, there's a kind of a window stamp set here, and on the next page, there's this is a new set, boat related. Over the page, this is new, with these kind of wild animals in quite a soft, almost like a pencil effect. Oh, and this is new as well, vintage tools. So if you're into tools, there's kind of a bit quirky sentiments. And then over the page, there's a heron with dies, and there's a kind of a Japanese bonsai type set. And then page 90 is the next suite. So again, this suite is called Sun Prints. I don't have these papers to show you, but they're all shades of blue on one side, neutrals on the other. And they coordinate with this set, which has got some, I don't know, they remind me of the ginkgo leaves that we had previously, but I suspect this is not a ginkgo leaf. I'm not sure what it is. And it's got ferns. The suite itself has got obviously the papers, the stamps, the dies. There's also quite an interesting wreath die that comes, as well as the dies that cut these pieces out, and a label. There's quite a nice label. You can see the wreath element on the samples. There's a little bit of texture in it too, and there's an embossing folder which you can just see here on the edge of the paper, but it gives you a fern embossing. So this sample shows it in a bit more detail. Over the page is another new, or two new bundles. So one has got wisteria, and well, wisteria, and or you could use them up the other way and kind of make red hot pokers, or obviously you could potentially make them into lavender. The dies will cut out the outlines, and they'll also die cut the wisteria separately if you wanted to do a layered version just out of cardstock. The next page has got some interesting, basically leaves and sentiments, but the bundle pairs it with some vellums. And again, I don't have the vellums to show you. It's quite difficult for you to really get a sense of what they look like, other than for me to point out. So you can see them here and on the card samples. So that sort of swathy pattern in the background, that's a piece of vellum on blue. So if you look at the bottom, you can just see that all of the vellums are kind of white with grayscale printing on. That one here too has got the sort of the circle. Again, there, that's a piece of vellum. Can you see with the botanicals on? So a different kind of bundle to have stamp set plus vellum. Over the page, very similar to Mountain Air, there's another set with a kind of a waterfall canyon. The jars are still in. Nothing new over the page. And then on page 98 is another new suite. So this suite is called Textured Chic. The stamp set reminds me of one that we had ages ago, which I can't remember the title of, but I have still got mine. I've used it loads. But the one we had that covered all 4 seasons. And in that sense, this one does the same, because you've got a flower, you've got a snowflake, leaf, shell, broadly kind of tied to the seasons. As you can see, the stamps are quite textured and they're 2-layer, and the papers that go with this are really, really really fancy. So they've got gold embossing on them. I don't have them to share, I'm afraid, but they are very, very pretty, and they're very textured. So you can sort of see them here. If sort of vintage or grunge is your thing, then you will definitely love these papers. And again, when we talked earlier on about cutting, die cutting pieces out, these would be quite nice if you wanted to create kind of just interest to die cut pieces. So they're very pretty. A new lighthouse over the page. obviously the waves, which we've already had on pre-order. On the next page, there's this set with budgerigars. So if budgerigars are your thing, there's some dies in various different kind of cages, and then the birds themselves. The birds are 2-step, so you can see one colour for its sort of top bit, one for the bottom, and then the outline. Nothing new on the next page or the next page. Oh, and then this is probably my favourite of all. So page 108, Hues of Happiness Suite. So the stamp set has got some outline flowers in them. They look like this. I really like the sentiments, and they're really good for all kinds of occasions. Outline flowers you can use on their own, or you can colour them. Coordinating dies. That also, not only do they cut out the flowers, but they cut out the paper. And the die set has also got quite an interesting piece in it. I'll show you, which is good for creating interest to your backgrounds. So it's got 2 border pieces, which are useful, and then this piece. So a little bit like the die in the poppy set. It kind of, and it will have, and actually will give a similar effect to the pop-up dies that I showed you earlier, the new pop-up dies. I did have a card, but I think I've sent it already. These little pieces, they remain attached, but they'll stand up. So they're good for creating backgrounds. But the papers are really where it's at for this set, I think. So, and I do have these ones. So there are some, so can you see, I've got tons of these, ones that I've cut out and haven't used. You can, so in terms of the sheet patterns, they mostly have got variegated colour, blues to pinks. You've got some nice kind of just rainbow background pattern pieces as well. Got these kind of rainbowy florals that have got this lovely, can you see, going from purple right the way through to pink background piece. And then these sheets of flowers, these are all the ones that you can kind of cut out. So these ones are sort of pinks to blues, and they've got quite a dark background. There's this lovely one of big florals on navy, which looks really nice. And then there are a couple of these. So this one, which kind of goes sort of blue through to yellow. And then the next one, so this one, again, these can be die cut straight off the paper. And this one's got kind of pinks through to blue, so nice for a background. And then you've also got this in the yellows through pinks, and these ones can be die cut, and they've got like pink through to yellow background. So they are just really, really lovely.
I've seen a lot of those online.
Yeah, so some of these sets, this one, the sun prints, the wisteria, they were all on pre-order. For annual catalogue, we only get a limited number of items to choose from. It's not like a mini catalogue where you can choose whatever you want, and that's why sometimes a pre-order unboxing is not as exciting on an annual catalogue if you've only got either a few things, or if you, so like me, I did buy this on the pre-order, but some of the things that were on pre-order I didn't buy because I just didn't really, they weren't my kind of thing. And a lot of the other things that I've shared with you are things that were in the catalogue that were not on pre-order. Yeah. So yes, you will see a lot of this about, and the papers immediately within about 48 hours of catalogue launch were out of stock. Because as you can imagine, lots of people have seen them, lots of people wanted them. I think they are back in stock now, but they did go out fairly quickly. But it is so lovely, it's so pretty, the colours are just really lovely.
Joanne, on the dies, there's two sort of straight ones at the top. What are they? You can't see that on what they are.
So they remind me of
Yes.
Almost like tear off, you know, when you tear off a book in like a ringed
Yes.
book, they're a bit like that. So this one's got sort of slits, and this one has got like little holes and then lines.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
you could use those.
Yes, you could use them. I mean, obviously in the samples, they've used them. So they've used them on this pink one to give kind of little dots. See, I've got that one here that I made with this set, but it hasn't got the dies on.
I can see them now on that pink one. I couldn't see them on any of the samples.
There you go. So I actually used them on this card because I was creating that kind of calendar page effect. So you can use them, you know, specifically to give you the effect of paper. Or sort of a sheet torn out of a book or something, or you can just use them to add a bit of decoration to your edge. I do quite like them, and I think they're ones that sort of go beyond the life of the set, really. A new willow tree, if that's your thing. That's the same. There's a new hand-drawn one, so a little bit like in the moment, there's one called Places in the Heart, but this one has got a lot more shading already on it. And then the one on the opposing page is all about tile patterns. So that's new, some nice sentiments in that set. Over the page, you might have seen this one too, because this one wasn't on pre-order, but this set was on one of the events that we had leading up to Catalogue launch. Demonstrators had so they were sent out, certain demonstrators had certain sets, and this was one of the sets that some people will have had. So you may well have seen this one. There was a lovely card done using this piece that was entered into our Clean and Simple Colours and Sketches challenge the other week, which is really nice. There's a new alphabet, which you can see on page 115, but to give you an idea of the size of it, so they're individual letters, and it coordinates with a punch. And if you look at the bottom of the page, that little grey rectangle is the size that it punches out. So the letters fit in there. So this is the actual size of the letter. Okay, just to give you some idea. But that's a new alphabet, all lowercase letters, obviously plenty with kind of accents and different bits and pieces, and you've got various bits of punctuation as well. Background stamps, there are some new ones. So there's this quite useful textured rays of light. That's quite nice. There's a medallion, and then there are a couple of other ones over here. There's quite a detailed bouquet and a tropical leaves background. I don't have any of those to show you though, I'm afraid. Over the page, this is quite an interesting one. So it's hollyhocks, and again, it's got some, if you look at the dies, there's some quite detailed dies. It reminds me very much of the Blossoms set that we had previously, that we used in a class, in terms of its layering. So you've got this kind of detailed one and then a more outline one. You can see them here. They kind of go one on top of the other. And you can either use them with or without the stamped images. There's a new Angel Policy stamp. And then we're into the detail. And then, so obviously, new in colours, which you can see here. And if you I'll just quickly show you. So all of the new colour family packs, these are the patterns. So this is the in colour one. So it's got kind of florals on one side, stripes on the other, or this kind of plaid and dots on the other side. Yeah, and so all of the either in colour or colour family packs, they're the patterns that are in this year's sets.
Where are they in the catalogue, Joanne?
So in the catalogue, they're over a few pages. So they're actually on page 135.
Oh yes, found it. Yeah.
So at the top of the page, you've got the in colour ones, and then you've got the colour families. I jumped ahead a little bit there because we were on the coloured page.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So just whizzing through these kind of bits and bobs sort of pages, things that you might not initially see. On page 128, there are a new set of masks, and these ones, or stencils, these ones, some of them are kind of to give the illusion of a label. Some of them are layering to create either plaid patterns or mosaic patterns. So again, you wouldn't necessarily see those if you kind of just whiz through. Also, actually, I'm just making sure I haven't missed it. No, it's okay, still to come. Right, papers then. So obviously I've shown you them as we've gone along, but papers are the next section. Oh, I've got these papers too. So ones that are not part of a suite, but I haven't showed you. I've showed you the butterflies, and then on the men's ones and the hues of happiness. I've got these perfectly penciled. So let me just show you what they look like. So they are black and whites. So you can obviously you can colour them, or you can leave them as they are. Florals with butterflies. You've got this lovely, almost textured surface, certainly a textured print to the reverse. Leaves, little flowers, another floral with dots on the reverse. Oops. And then you've got these florals, tiny ones with stripes. And then this one, just that way up. And the reverse is like a kind of a hatch. And that's the last one. So again, whether you left them as they are, or whether you colour them, they lend themselves to both. So that's those. These ones at the bottom of the page called Pretty Prints, they actually coordinate with the Sun Prints, that navy blue set. So they're similar patterns. There are only 4 different, so they're 4 each rather, of 3 different designs. So you can see them, you get the 4 different colours, and they've all got this kind of sort of sun bleached type fern pattern to them. I can't show you those because I don't have them, but they coordinate with these ones here. Yeah, they're the tea ones, they're the textured chic with the gold. These ones here I can show you, they're the host reward ones. So these ones, obviously you can only get these ones if you have either hosted a party or put in an order to the equivalent, or if you've done a paper share with me, because I always give everyone a collection of these as part of a paper share. But they've got everything from birds to patterns to stripes to leaves. So there's lots and lots of different sort of colours. They're quite nice. Kites, stripes, kind of some nice generic patterns. These kind of little, I don't know what you call those, but and then a green, squares, bicycles, and then another kind of purpley one with hatch, another stripe, and then this kind of very pale, contrasting with this really bold purple flower. Oops. And then diamonds, and the circular patterns. So they're mostly generic patterns, but with some florals. And they're a huge pack because there are loads, unlike all the other packs, which are 12 sheet packs, that's a 48 sheet pack. So that's those ones at the bottom of the page. And then there are also, so there's some new memories and more. I don't have any of that to share. I've showed you those tea boutique cards. There are some more papers, which are these ones here, which again, these are good to see up close. I'm sure you won't, you probably still will struggle to see the detail, but can you see the texture on those papers? Yeah. So these papers feel like silk. They're not silk, obviously. They've got, so they're pretty much one-sided. And you've got blue, green, and then this sort of pale pink. You can see there, they've got a texture to them. They're called brushstroke. It's almost feathered, but they've got a real, I wouldn't say shiny, it's more of a sheen as opposed to shiny, but they're very, very pretty. And if you wanted a specialty paper for something, they just look really, really lovely. There are some other, so there's distressed gold as another specialty paper, which kind of coordinates with that textured sheet. You can see those vellums a bit more at the bottom of the page there as well. You can certainly see the 4 designs, although almost until you sort of see them in real life, it's quite difficult to imagine what they're like. And then over the page, there are some new packaging options. So there's some treat bags with a kind of a visual slot and a what do they call, like a press and seal top to them. Embossed treat bags with a handle, and then these ones too, which have got like a filigree pre-die cut front to them. There are loads of new embellishments. This pack has got sequins in it, 3 different colours of sequins. It's quite good value for money, actually, given everything that's in it. But then various other ones that kind of coordinate with other sweets. And obviously there's those bottles that we talked about. And then over the page, there's new sprigs, little sparkly bits. There's all kinds of sparkly bits. And same with ribbons. Obviously there are some new ribbons. New twine too, and the new ink colour ribbons. So the new ink colour ribbons are really sparkly. So can you see there? They're super, super shiny. And then I think the only other thing that's new back here, I might have missed them, but there's masking sheets in here as well, actual masking paper. So that's a good kind of store cupboard staple. These we've looked at. In terms of punches, there are some new standalone punches. So there's some stars. There's something called a decorative circle. So you can see the shape there. There's a new kind of leaf and sprig punch, and these are all pretty much standalone. Nothing new on that page. And then, so magnetic plate for the big shot is out, but for the mini is still in development. So it's still not ready, even though it does show in the catalogue, unfortunately. And then obviously, again, we've got die bundles. But if I just flick to the end, you will see. So there are some other standalone dies. So I haven't got this one. So can you see there's this one called Artisan Editions, which has got sort of a corner piece and 2 full size pieces. The others are all carryovers. This is a standalone die set, kind of brush shapes. There's a new treat box in the shape of a cracker, decal edge rectangles and some edges, and a dots and spots, and a designer tags. And these will all, so if you look, they will all have featured, but even these ones I didn't point out to you, probably because they're not ones that were sort of immediately on my radar. There are samples, but you kind of need to take the page number and go back and try and find it so you can truly see what it looks like. There is a frames with corner pieces as well as a new set. There's this one here with these kind of fun hanging bits and a corner detail, and a pair of frames that are all new. Over the page there's a mini pocket envelope which is new. So there are those pop-up dies that that I showed you earlier, which again, you kind of looking at that, you wouldn't really have a feel for what that looked like. So it's worth sort of going back and going through. These ones I've got. So see, there's those other ones I showed you, the rugged ones. There are some sequin dies, give you very large sort of sequin shapes. So I have these ones. So they're two split. So the idea is you could almost cut that piece out of a piece and just use it as a die cut. I actually got them because I thought they'd be nice for stenciling as well. So that's those ones there. And I say those ones on the previous page are quite similar. The art ones, they're called artistic expressions or artisan editions, those ones there. There is one other unusual bundle, which is this one here, the very last one on page 175. It's called Twigs and Sprigs, and it's an embossing folder and a set of dies that cuts the embossing folder. So you can have die cut embossed pieces. So similar to the Christmas frame, the Merry Moments frame that we've had before. But that kind of will give you them, it will cut them out as individual pieces. Obviously you can see the shape there. These are just mentioned, some are shadows, they're not marked as new, they were in the catalogue. Well, they weren't in the catalogue previously. These were a celebration item because they coordinate with a stamp set that was in the catalogue. These have now become a main catalogue item. So I'll just mention those. There are a few new embossing folders, cascading ruffles. This one, which is a two-piece, a bit like the winter one down here, or the other one that I know Deborah's got, and I've got one too, with the, you know, the one I mean, with the flowers and so on that kind of come from the top and the bottom.
Oh yeah, the meadow.
Very similar.
It's called Meadow.
That's the one. Thank you. Yeah. That's the fern one, which you actually, that's not a bad picture of that because you can properly see the texture of the ferns there. There's a new cloud die, and there's a new pair of almost like a congratulations and a happy birthday in lots of languages embossed. There's another one up here which is painted posies, which is kind of from one end up. Tiles, stripes and splatters, you might have seen that quite a lot. I've seen quite a few people using that lately. Everything else is a carryover. And then the only other thing, there are some host sets at the end, and that's it. Wow. That was a bit whistle stop, wasn't it? But hopefully that was useful.
Yeah, very
useful. Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of will give you a bit of an idea. I'll save this recording and I'll put it in the group, but I will also share another one, which was one that Sarah Douglas did, where she goes through all of the papers. So the papers that I've not shown you, she went through them all page by page, and you will be able to see some of the other ones in a bit more detail. Okay, so I'm going to just switch my camera back. Okay, so hopefully that was useful. I will stop the recording now